Hi, everybody. I'm very excited to have Max and Zac on this call. Max and I literally had our first meeting yesterday, so this is great timing. Zac and I meet all the time, and it's just wonderful, though it's nice to finally upgrade to Max. So this is cool. Major upgrade. And we're all from the same generation, which is delightful.
Better hair, better beard than Zac.
That's exactly it. Anyway, I'm Aaron, co-founder of Orita. We do AI customer segmentation. We work very closely with Zac on a bunch of customers. We're starting to build a relationship with Max, which I'm excited about. Today is not about us. It is about the two of them. So guys, I'm going to start with you doing proper introductions yourself. Zac, you've been here before, but definitely some new people who haven't met you. So I'd love for you to give the intro to yourself, a little bit about Simplistic, a little bit about Hiro as well, please.
Yeah. Thanks, Aaron. Good to be back. I'm Zac. I am one of the partners at Simplistic. Simplistic is a Shopify Platinum, Klaviyo Platinum agency. We do design, dev, CRO, CO, and Lifecycle. I came here because my retention agency was acquired. I don't remember where our last podcast was, pre-acquisition or slightly post, but now we're here. And then I also run Hiro Analytics, which is an analytics software just for lifecycle agencies, managers, in-house. Max is a big fan, and that's how Max and I met each other, is actually as a customer of Hiro. And yeah, we've just been hanging out on the side, which has been awesome. Sharing secrets.
I was jealous, so I got to butt in. Max, before I bring it to you, Zac, can you go a little bit deeper on what Hiro does for folks who don't know?
Yeah, so Hiro, we built Hiro because there's so much in all of these Klaviyo, Attentive, PostScript. There's so much data in there. And if you're working on more than one of the platforms, it's just hard to see all that data in one place. Or even if you're just using one of them, there's just a lot of ways that we as retention marketers want to look at the data. And moreover, as agencies want to look at the data. So multiple accounts in one place, pacing, segmenting by who's managing the accounts, as well as just like a lot of like product level. When someone buys product A, what do they buy second, third? What emails lead better into those conversions?
Thank you. All right, Max, take it away. Would love your intro.
Hi, everybody. My name is Max. Email and SMS specific agency. We do email and SMS. And yes, we work with Hiro. That's how I met Zac. I apparently am not the best customer because I've been calling it Hiro. So my bad. But yeah.
Customer is always right.
That's what I'm talking about. So email and SMS agency, we work with about 130 brands now. We've been growing fast in the past 12 months, gone from like 30 brands to 130. Before that, it's like 5 to 30 and then 30 to 130. And yeah, just gonna try to keep growing. We are passionate on being the most premier e-com retention team in the planet. And over time, despite all this explosive growth, our retention rates have only gotten better quarter over quarter and year over year. And so continue to get better and better and working with some cool brands. And so that's kind of the goal. And
Max, you forgot to introduce what the name of your agency is. So I'm going to give you one more shot. All right.
WellCopy. So WellCopy. I wish it was something cool like Orita or
Hiro,
Hiro,
whatever.
But
Hiro,
so Max, I think one of the things, when Zac first told me about you, it was actually obviously not about the agency, it was about all the content. So can you walk us through how do people find you? What type of content do you guys write? What are you well known for?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we're one of the biggest now agencies in terms of number of clients and e-com brands. And it's purely organic content, like me posting, just being the face. And it's all been 100% from that. And so for me, it's just content on all platforms. So YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and then I have a newsletter, and I just have a pretty dialed funnel. And then I focus mainly top of funnel in terms of where I get leads and brands. Typically comes from Instagram and YouTube. Those are the two big ones. And so I've been doing those hard for 2 years, but it all started on Twitter 3 or 4 years ago. And then I slowly expanded, and it's just taken off. And I drive everybody to lead magnets where they opt into my newsletter. I just give stupid amounts of value. Just everything that I do, I give absolutely 100% of everything away and then add a little bit of my personality to it. And then people kind of mess with it. And then eventually off my newsletter, I'm just like, yo, book a call. Let me review your account. And then they eventually come in and then we work with
And
them.
if I'm
we
a
generate really
brand
good
and I'm reading your
results.
newsletter, understood on like the strategy and everything, and like it's very spot on. What is the content that you guys are known for? Like why am I gravitating to like tips and tricks? Is it you're talking to the CRM manager, you're talking to the CMO, everybody in between? What are the things that you like to focus on to really drive value for free to the ecosystem?
It is tactical email marketing, tactical email and SMS marketing, tips, tricks, everything. Like I will literally show you like, hey, this flow we just generated, we just got an X% placed order rate on this exact abandoned checkout flow that we set up for this brand. Here's the open rate and click rate for this exact email and this template. Here's open rate, click rate. And like nobody ever really like shares that stuff. And so I get as tactical as possible. I'm like, send to this email. And so it's very tactical, just like
And
quick,
then do you get
quick
the
bites.
brands to buy in? Like when they sign up, you're like, look, we are going to feature you. I'm assuming they're excited about it because you're going to feature wins, or how do you manage that?
Yeah, no, so I don't expose like the actual name of the brand, or if I do emails and I show like the numbers behind it, I'll have consent over it and I'll blur out like the brand. And so
And
that's
Zach,
typically
is
how
there
I'll do it.
like, was there something unique when you were interacting with Max? Like forget the agency for a minute, but like the content where you're like, oh shit, this is very like high quality. It was speaking to a customer in a different way, or what was it that kind of like got your eye towards WellCopy's tips and insights?
Be nice.
Yeah. Funny enough, it was our clients slacking me screenshots of Max's posts on Instagram being like, can we do this? And I was like, who is this guy? And then, I went through and some of the recommendations that I was like, this is actually really smart. Yeah, we can definitely do this. Where did you find this? And then I go back through and started following his newsletter and his Instagram. I was like, oh, this is like very valuable stuff.
I like it. I want to kind of focus, Max. You said something about being a premier agency. I want to get both of your perspectives. Max, I'll start with you because before Zach kind of biases one way or the other, like what is the definition to you of like a premier retention agency?
That's a really good question. For me, there are a few parts of a quality agency, in my opinion. One of them is the creative, of course, is your copy and design, like fire, for lack of a better word, on brand, creative, good. So you have the creative, you have the strategy. And so the email strategies that we're building, are we doing copy and paste, like sort of templates and strategies that are the same across like other brands that worked in 2023? Or are we doing like the new stuff that is working in 2025 and 2026? So the strategies that we're building out. And then you have like the client communication and relationships. And so if you can nail those kind of like three right there, and then maybe like fourth, if you want to separate analysis and stat reporting, but I'd kind of put that under communication and relationships. And those are kind of like the big three. And so in my opinion, it's just like hiring the right people, making sure you hire the best of the best and you train them for copy and design on creatives. As far as strategy, I think it starts from the top down and then of course the people you hire. And so it's me constantly training the team and me being in the trenches in the accounts with people and sharing what I find. But then we also have a very collaborative culture and a testing culture where all the seniors, they're testing all sorts of different stuff and sharing it. And so we're able to see what's working right now. So that's how we nail like the strategy part of it. And then all the trainings that we do in terms of breaking down other brands and their funnels and everything. And then the last part, which is communication analysis. So we use Hiro for a lot of the analysis. So shout out to them. And then also the relationships that we have with clients. Like it's not like we're people that you never hear from. We're communicating all day, every day. We're jumping on calls at least bi-weekly. And we have a lot of fun people on the team. And so they're able to get relationship with clients that actually
Zach,
care about them.
Kind of reflecting on what Max said, but you obviously interact with hundreds, I think, of agencies at this point. Like almost every agency we partner with, I think, uses Hiro, and the ones who don't will be there soon, right? Once they learn about you. Are there other things that you think kind of make the best agencies the best, or is it kind of like there's a special alchemy that we can't really define?
I think I definitely agree with Max's breakdown. Like I think creative, I think strategy, and I think communication. The one other kind of pillar I would probably tack on is like energy, which I guess is part of communication, but like you can tell through Max that Max is just like, you can feel it. Like, so I imagine as an agency, there is, we've been working with a client for a really long time. It's hard to maintain that energy. There's like a certain level, and I don't even know how you quantify it, but you can tell just by like the proposal of new work, the amount of flows that are being added, the amount of tests that are being run. I think the best agencies tend to be energetic and also proactive. And so on the Hiro side, I think we can kind of look at agency performance at a very high level. And when you see an agency like Max's growing from 30 to 130, the breakdown there is like, wow, they're just like doing a lot of work for their clients and they're being very proactive about that work as well.
Thank you. Zac, one of the things you and I have talked about in kind of different formats is the idea, or different periods, is the idea of figuring out what you can rinse and repeat as an agency, right? To like, Max, this kind of rhymes with what you were just saying in terms of sharing lessons. Right before this, I rolled off a call with our CS team who's, getting slammed. It's busy. And it's like, cool. How are we still, even in this exhausting time, lessons like, oh, we figured out this new way to serve a brand. How do you go bring it to the next brand and the next brand? Zac, what are the things that like you see that are kind of like shared and like are the rinse and repeat things that you should be bringing to every single one of your customers? What are the things that like end up being kind of fundamentally unique brand by brand? Or what are the prompts from the brand that would make you realize, we should do something differently than we've done it before maybe?
Yeah, I'll answer the question in two parts because I do think there is, at least on the way that we kind of practice Lifecycle, there are things that we do bring to every brand. And then on the flip side, I think there are prompts that lead you down a different path. For the rinse and repeat, again, I know we're on the Orita podcast, but I've still got to say it. There are certain pieces of the tech stack that we try to use on every brand. So Orita is one, Hiro is another, Ollie is another. And I think like we know that we've tested these tools on enough brands that there's no reason not to be using them. So I think from a rinse and repeat in our scopes of work now, when we're proposing bringing on a new client for retention, we're including those tools in that scope because it performs for every brand. And also our team has now developed workflows based on the assumption we're going to be working with those tools when we start working with a client. On the kind of what is different, I think the thing that we're trying to navigate right now is there's this huge proliferation of AI in terms of like personalization and understanding, like, yes, every profile in your Klaviyo account is unique, but does that actually require a unique approach on a one-to-one basis? Is it like, are you trying to segment by like types of buyers? That whole world seems very confusing right now. And I think the main thing that we're hearing from brands is like, where in the funnel should we be trying to personalize more, or where in the funnel should we be trying to like do things more dynamic or one-to-one? Our approach isn't necessarily different for those brands, but I would say what we care about or what the objective is like some brands offer subscription, but like driving subscription growth isn't a main objective. Another brand may come to us and say like, we need to double our number of product subscribers. Like we're going to take two very different approaches to everything we do for a brand like that. So a lot of times it's really top down.
I mean, we're going to dive into AI tools, all sorts of stuff. Like I appreciate this because I want to get deep in the tactics. Max, when you think about, let's just say on the personalization topic, right? And you're working with brands right now, and obviously you can choose to separate BFCM from the rest of the year, right? Because it's hectic and it's busy. Where are you guys playing around with personalization in retention flows? Where do you think it's overhyped or it might be the right strategy, but the tools aren't there yet? Yeah, would love to explore that topic.
100%. I'm not fully bought in on many tools out there. I just haven't seen the data for the extra cost that a lot of these tools cost for like certain personalization. I've always been on the side of more often a brand is losing money from looking at the wrong stuff than personalization. It's like, why are we like, we have clients or brands who come into audits where it's like, oh my gosh, we're thinking about trying this AI personalization software, but they're sending one campaign a week, or they have a checkout abandoned flow labeled as cart abandoned and they don't have a cart abandoned flow. It's like, what are we doing? Or they have strategies that are just archaic in the account. So it's like, okay, let's get to the personalization. To me, that's not like an abandoned cart email, no matter what, I could put anything in abandoned cart email. And if I send an email to somebody 20 minutes after they added an item to their cart on a store and then left, there's going to be an amount of people who buy at a high rate. So I'm less on, I want to get shit in place first before I start worrying about that stuff. And I want to do as many high levers that I can outside of segmenting people by what color underwear they're wearing today. That's like where I stand. I think a lot of it is overblown, in my opinion. Once you get into the 9-figure range and high middle 8-figure range, then once you're like really dialed in on the other stuff, yes, let's talk about personalization, see how we can do it. But personally, there are definitely people out there who do it a lot more and are a little bit more educated on it. I'm a lot more on the I try to look for lifts elsewhere than with some of the personalization outside of buyers, non-buyers, and based on product interests. Though that's as far as I go with personalization as far as right now. And that's where we'll do splits in our flows, particularly in terms of cart, checkout, replenishments, all sort of stuff. Split based on product, split based on if someone hasn't bought before, has bought before, are an active subscriber. That to me is the 80-20. So that's like majority what we're focusing on for personalization.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Like the bulk of our work is we do an audit, and 9 times out of 10 it's shocking like how many of the fundamentals are missing. And then once those fundamentals are in place, I agree with Max. Like in most cases for most brands, you start segmenting your flows by product behavior, especially when it's replenishable. Like people go through different sizes and types of products and different frequencies. That's I think the level that most brands haven't even got to yet.
To me also, by the time I finish setting up my splits based on product type and buyers, non-buyers, and I go through that content, by the time that I finish that, I have enough data because I probably set up some A/B tests, and I can go back and look at new A/B tests, and I feel like there are some higher levers that I can do, like testing the offer that's a super, super high lever. Like I'd rather do that than some of the other personalization, but I haven't been introduced maybe to the right tools. That's just what I look at right now.
There's just a lot of noise. So I think that Max and I are very much aligned on in the way that we practice like business in general, but the agency, Lifecycle agency in particular, brands are receiving like a ridiculous amount of content, a ridiculous amount of inputs, a ridiculous amount of cold emails, right? We're in a world where there's like 100 tools now that do one thing, and then the tools that you used to use are all doing the same thing as the other tool. Like everyone's just like sharing ground now, and it's very competitive and it's very confusing. And I think it makes you lose sight of the basics, and a lot of the basics, they change in terms of like what you can test and what you should be testing on a brand to brand basis, but actually having an agency that's like practicing those things instead of chasing distractions, I think
you guys are
is
saying
really
it.
important.
Thank you. Like it's very fun to watch the two of you interact, just like kind of reflecting on it. One thing, Max, you said was about kind of data incrementality. Like we think always about incrementality. It's like, yeah, things are better, but is it better because of this thing, or is it causation or correlation, right? And like finding the tools that will literally prove to you, I think is very hard. Forget e-commerce. It's hard in any ecosystem, anything you're buying. I think the second thing is, I'm hearing you both talk about like, you should be leading from the customer's objectives. So Zac, you kind of mentioned this of like, this brand wants to double subscribers. This brand wants to like move to one-time purchases, whatever. Max, I hear that from you with the flow, which is like, you say you want personalization, but why? And like, if you ask why enough times, it's going to be, well, we want to grow revenue. And it's like, cool. What are the actual things we can do? So I kind of want to double click because this is also intuitive to you guys. But again, we have like, Orita serves brands that are like 5 million revenue and 1 billion in revenue and everybody in between. And like, obviously we want to like tease out some more insights. What are those fundamentals? It's get the infrastructure correct. Max, you mentioned a couple of flows, like guys, at the very least, have your abandoned cart flow, right? Have the mentality of testing. Are there other things that feel like before you talk about anything, like here's some other fundamentals that may or may not be obvious to the group, just like ping pong, throw stuff out. But Max, you first, please.
The biggest pop-up forms. Get your pop-up forms dialed. I also don't get your pop-up forms dialed because then I can double your opt-in rate and you think I'm Jesus, email Jesus. All the brands out there who have terrible pop-up forms and shitty opt-in rates who haven't updated their pop-up form in
let's linger on
months.
Pop-ups. And then Zac, I'll go to you next. What are the things that are like that brands think they're doing right, but they're clearly doing wrong? And like, what are the best in class? Zac, you mentioned Alia, but Max, I'm curious, like, is it the tool that matters or some strategy or question that they're asking?
Yeah, absolutely. So it changes all the time. Simple things like test your offer. You've just always had 10% off, 20% off because that's the default. What about, can you offer a free gift? Like say you have a product that you can produce for $2 in China, and say frame it as a $29 free gift. What if you had a pop-up form that says, hey, do you want a $29 free gift with your order? Now you're giving $2 on that first order if somebody places an order, rather than 10% if somebody placed a $100 order, you're paying $10. So it'll save you a shit ton on margin, and it's different. People want newness. There are so many brands out there. People are seeing the same stuff. So if you can change the offer, then a lot of times that's a big one. As far as like what I like to do for pop-up forms, I love Alia. Use it on everything. Shout out Sean. Alia.
Shout out Corey too.
Yeah, and Corey. Of course. If I can get a brand on Alia, that's what I want. But like what I like to do, if I'm setting up my own forms, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a quiz-based pop-up form. So I'm going to ask, say, you've got this discount. To claim your discount, share what problem you're trying to solve, or tell us something about you. What gender are you? And they ask a question first before we get their email address. It triggers commitment bias in humans. They're more likely to continue following up with an action once they start down the road of something. So they interacted with that. They see the email. They're like, oh, I guess I have to enter my email now. They enter their email, and then it says finish signing up with text to activate your discount. And it's like, oh my God, I already gave them my email. Fine, I'll give them my phone number. And so you just keep going. And so triggering out those steps. Don't ask for first name in your pop-up forms, please. It just doesn't make sense. The increase in conversions you get from somebody giving you their first name so that you can use a first name in an email is not worth the increase in churn you get on the pop-up form. Doesn't make any sense. Stop. So ask a question, then you can segment based off of it. Say you've got this discount. Ask for email and then SMS, and then all good to go, and then segment your welcome flow based on what question that person answered in the first step. And if you're doing 10% off or 15% off or 20% off, instead of doing 10%, 15%, 20%, test a mystery discount. Say it's a mystery discount, but then give them just in the welcome email, it's 15% off. We get literally double the opt-in rates by testing that for some brands. Just like changing the wording on the pop-up form to it's a mystery discount, and you get a lot
Max,
more people.
the one thing I need to confirm. When I sign up, it says sign up with email to get 10% off. And then they immediately send me that sign up with text. Do I need to sign up with text, or do I, if it said sign up with email to get it? You don't. God, man,
I'm still sending you.
That is my number one least favorite dark pattern. That's right. I called it that. All right. Zach, what else? Yeah. Anything else about pop-ups, or are there other like fundamentals that you think are worth kind of diving into? Yeah.
No, I mean, same thinking. The only thing I'll add on quiz is it's actually, I think, a fun, as the agency person working with the brand, I think it's a fun exercise to go to the brand and say, like, what thing do you wish you knew more about your customers or potential customers as they came in, and using that as like the prompt for the quiz. So some brands might care about, like, we work with a ton of supplement brands. They all care about like what activity the end user does, boxing, running, etc. So there's just like really interesting formats you can use for the quizzes that actually like give you great zero-party data to use later on, make product recommendations.
And something on that as well, bring in Hiro again, that we did the other day. We had a pop-up form and we asked, it's a baby carrier for a pregnant woman or people when they not pregnant anymore.
You use a baby carrier. Anyway, I've got 2 kids, so I know a little bit about this.
Yeah. Yeah. And so the pop-up form is, hey, share where you're at with, like, why are you shopping for this? And it's like, I'm a parent, I'm expecting, I'm gifting for somebody. So we ask that question, and then they get added to the email list. And then what we did is over the past like 6 months, we've had that live, and we tagged people with the profile property. And then we went to Hiro, pull some reports. What are the conversion rates on actually placing an order for people who answer, are you a gifter? Are you expecting? Are you a parent? And we were thinking like, oh, I'm a new parent. That's going to be the highest conversion rate. Boom. The gifting was just like off the charts with like the conversion rates. And so that was super insightful. And then the people who were expecting, almost like no placed orders. And they were running a lot of ads, this brand running a lot of ads towards like, hey, expecting parents, And like, yeah, you want to do that for like awareness, but then we're able to, and they were doing pretty much nothing for gifting. Like, yes, if you're gifting, like you're super high intent when you go to the website and whatnot, but it makes you think like, how can we push people to want to gift this more? Because it was like literally a 30% conversion rate compared to a 10% conversion rate.
And then what I'm gathering, Max, from your discussion earlier is you go take this and then you figure out, cool, how do we get the 10% up, or how do we get the 30% to 35%? And you just keep testing that, but you now start testing different content, like different flows, different cadences, discounts, different everything. So
Exactly.
I love it. All right, cool. Man, this is good. We've gone so far afield from what I thought we were going to talk about, and I'm so excited about it. I actually want to go into performance marketing in a weird way, and not like from expertise and what are the right tactics, but like you both are experts in retention, and I'm curious, like, do you think at all about going into the performance space, or if not, why not? Or how are changes in performance making it easier or harder to do retention? Like, would love to just explore this topic if possible. Zac, happy to start with you, and then Max, if you want to chime in.
Yeah. So at Simplistic, one of the things we've been working on at the end of the year now is kind of our positioning for 2026. I think one of the most difficult things to do in the Shopify space as an agency that has multiple verticals is A, to like differentiate, and B, I guess A and B are the same thing, to not sound the same as all the others. I think most agencies who do what Simplistic does have some combination of like, we build high converting websites, we're good at migrations, and we have all the other retainer services you want. Because we've been thinking about like, okay, how do we actually look at all the brands that we've worked with, the way that we work with them, and the results, and kind of develop that into a more unique position. And actually what we've landed on, and this is fun because I get to test it live with you guys, is we're really trying to position as like the Shopify technology and design agency built for marketers. And the reason we're talking about it this way is, I'll try to make this as quick as possible. The main decision makers at brands as to why you switch to Shopify 5 years ago was CTO and the tech teams. Now it's marketing teams. They're who are pushing migrations to Shopify, migrations to Klaviyo, investing more in Lifecycle. Like the marketing team are really the people driving a lot of the technical side of things now, where that didn't used to be the case. It was much more like, we're on Magento or Salesforce. It's complicated. Help us move. A lot of the brands that we work with, our point of contacts are the CMO, directors of retention, et cetera, et cetera. And we've found that kind of our combination of services, being great at Shopify design and dev, doing Lifecycle, doing CRO, and doing SEO, we're really supporting marketing efforts, not really trying to own them. And where our role is to kind of build these sites that are platforms for the marketers to use. So orchestrating all of the different MarTech touch points, building out kind of comprehensive strategies for testing, right? Like if you're sending a bunch of emails, they're all landing on PDPs, or you optimize it. There's a million different ways you could talk about it. Long story short, we've kind of made the conscious decision to stay out of performance marketing from a traditional, like running paid media, PR, et cetera, because those are the teams that we typically work with at the brands, are the people pushing traffic, and really our job is to help convert that traffic and retain that traffic.
Max, what about you guys? And Zac, I have a couple random follow-ups that I'll come back to, but Max, how do you think about performance or the funnel or that stage of the business?
Yeah, absolutely. We definitely think about the funnel, and I love everything e-com ads. I particularly love acquisition funnels. Like that's what I love, and a lot of my content is geared towards that. Like what ads are people running? What are the offers that they're running? What landing pages are they doing? Like that. I love that, and I'd love to do that, but man, that would be a lot of work. Like I'm already up to my neck in just dealing with like our growth on email retention, where it's like, I'd love to, but at the same time, like we set out right now, we're just focused on retention, and, maybe some stuff would change down the line. But right now, I think we have a lot of damage left to do in how good we can be as a retention agency. And so stuff that we're really upgrading right now is everything retention wide. And so subscriptions are something in subscription service and management where we advise on it for brands, but now we're actually brought on some like dogs where we're actually going to be like subscription management for brands, and like actually like really like fully like optimize that. So that's where my head is at first. I'm retention first. Before I want to master retention fully before I start moving to another vertical, because I switch, I have to do completely different stuff. I have to learn how to hire creative strategists. I got to learn how to vet them. I got to get really good at this myself. And so me personally, let me just send them to somebody else that I trust. Let me focus on retention. Let me absolutely master retention fully, completely, 100% through and through. And then I'll look towards
For what it's worth, Orita
else.
is my fourth company, and I've like been an investor advisor in many dozens more. What you're talking about is the hardest thing to learn, I think, as a entrepreneur or whatever you want to, even in like any role, forget if you're like the CEO or, the owner, is just like focus wins. And I love how disciplined you guys are. maybe a slightly different question, same theme. One thing that we've seen with a lot of our brands is as CAC has gone up and tariffs happen, yada, yada, right? Like P&Ls got turned upside down at the beginning of the year. And so brands were spending a lot less acquiring new customers, but the private equity investor or the CEO or whoever it is still expects the same level of growth, right? And so now they're leaning on their retention marketers to do more and more. How do you guys, like, when you're advising your brands, kind of help empower them to combat that, or be like, look, we can go make $100 more today, but we're putting $500 at risk, in a couple months because we are creating unsubscribes or we're hurting deliverability? Like, how do you kind of support your retention marketers during this kind of time? Zac, please.
Yeah. The first thing that actually came to mind when you were talking about that is direct mail, interestingly enough. So direct mail kind of tiptoes this line between retention and performance marketing because, there's essentially a spend on top of it to build the postcards and get them sent out. But when we have this conversation with our brands all the time where it's like, hey, we need 10% quarter over quarter growth year on year. Where is that going to come from? And our answer for a lot of brands has been direct mail, assuming assuming everything Max and I have talked about so far is already in place. For us, that's been like the next best lever because there's some subset in your list that is unreachable by email. And it could be segmentation and suppression rules that weren't even set up by us, and now we're not reaching them. Direct mail allows us to reach them, especially like people who are higher intent tend to have a great conversion rate on it as well. So that's been the first. We've literally had this conversation of like, hey, PE really needs us to grow X%. Like, what can we bring to the table? That answer has been direct mail a lot, actually.
I mean, I know you know this, but like we quietly do a lot of direct mail work. We partner obviously with Postpilot, who's awesome. But yeah, it's like, if you think about direct mail, there's a retention side. It's like somebody who's purchased. And I think a lot of people are like, well, I've already got them on a cheap channel. But to your point, that person might have unsubscribed, or they just may not engage with email. So it doesn't matter how many emails you send them, but a postcard is something that they can have to look at before they throw away. It's got a very high open rate, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, I think a ton of what Max and I do, that he talks a lot about this in his content, is like signal disruption. It's like both of us are big believers in plain text emails. Like, we love plain text emails just because it's a signal disruption. You're so used to seeing a certain format of email. You send a plain text, just a different format. It's a signal disruption. I think direct mail works similarly, where even if you have some great customers, that signal disruption of like getting something from the brand physically in your mail for the first time, great signal disruption. Not to mention there's a bunch of crazy things you can do with direct mail, with like welcoming them to the loyalty program, showing their points balance. This is what you left in your cart. Here's a catalog of items. Like, the same way you can get really like strategic around product-based flows and user-based flows in Klaviyo, you can expand a lot of that into what you do in
Max,
direct mail too.
Your choice. Do you want to talk a little bit about like the acquisition world and how that's impacting retention, or do you want to jump into signal disruption? Because I love that concept, and like if there are other kind of areas where there's like obvious things that brands should be exploring.
I forget what you said first.
Talking about
so
signal disruption. So plain text emails,
let's do
direct mail. Like, what's your philosophy on signal disruption? Where does it work? Where does it not work?
Oh, it's my favorite. Because customers, especially in 2025, like, everybody's doom scrolling, dopamine hungry. Everybody can go get some Cheetos.
I love my LinkedIn feed, Max. So yeah, I get it. I do.
Oh my God. Everybody's just craving dopamine, and they need newness. Something new is dopamine. And so people need newness. And so if you can then don't know how I was going to word it, but if you give people new and they will interact, I guess that's just like a human thing. But also I feel like it's even more relevant today. And so like some example is, we were just talking about pop-up forms and quiz pop-up forms. They're different. People interact with them because it's something new. Just asking straight for email address. Customers seen that every single day. Every ad they click on, they're going to get a pop-up asking for email, and their thumb is already moving to the top right corner as they see like the pop-up start to animate. It's already moving to the top right corner. And so if we can change like the interaction, then it's going to stand out. Same with text-based emails. It stands out. And then another thing that you can do is with your offers. For example, instead of doing just a 10% off sale like everybody does, what happens if you do an order lottery where for the next 24 hours, you're going to refund 5 orders in full, and you can like calculate the math. How many orders do you expect to do, and then try to keep it the same margin. But it's a pattern disruptor. People like that sort of stuff. Like, it's not just like the plain 10% off. It's let's do an order. And we did that, and we broke like multiple of our brand's records. Like, we ran it for one brand. One of our account managers came up with it, and it just crushed. And so then we shared with each other, and we made a company announcement like, yo, if you got an extra slot for like a sale for any of your brands, try this out. We did it, and we broke so many brand records by that stupid little concept of an order lottery. And it's just a different way of doing a sale. And then you just send an email 24 hours later of the people that you randomly refund. And then you end up saving a ton on margins because it's only a certain amount. AOV goes up because people go to order and they're like, what happens if I win and I only spent $20? And so they spend a little bit more. So that crushed. Doing things like, instead of doing 10% off or $10 off, you do a store credit sort of email. You give like $17.42 rather than a regular like certain amount of number. Like, different ways to stand out like that. It's just new that customers like to interact with, and that's always like, if we can find ways to do that, it works really, really
I
well.
have a very large smile because 15 years ago, we started doing for my brand when we would do it wasn't called BFCM. It was called Holiday back then. You guys have named it something new. But we would literally do a 5-day sale, and it would be 30% off, and it would be every 10th order is refunded. Not like 10th for you, but it'd be effectively a lottery.
Nice.
And like, we would just do it by looking at Shopify, like order 192, 290, 202, whatever. And it was so
Yeah. Like, one of our brands sells like wallets, and it's like every like 10 orders you're getting
Dude,
a
it
$100
is
bill
so
in the
joyful.
wallet.
And then people are like, oh, Christmas is free. Like, that's amazing. Right. And so like, okay, I love this. Thank you. All right. We got 10-ish minutes. I'm going to get a couple more deep free insights.
I usually
out of
only
you guys.
need 2.
Man, you speak quickly. Zac is just so laborious.
I'm very long-winded. I know, and I talk.
He doesn't
slow.
have anything
It's
useful
the
to
worst
say. He
combination.
talks slow and he says a lot. Classic Zac.
Classic.
All right. I want to talk a little bit about like AI and technologies and stuff that, forget what's out there right now. What are the things that you are really looking forward to? Or like, what are the like, oh, I see green shoots of like things are getting better. And look, like AI imagery isn't yet where it will be, but where it is, but in a year or two, this is going to give me so much leverage. And thinking both about it from your guys' perspectives running an agency, but obviously in service of a brand, like what are the things that you are really looking forward to that will provide more leverage for brands to kind of be their best selves? Zac, happy to start with you, and then Max, we'll go back to you.
Forward to. It's
All
a
right, what are
loaded
some-
question. Because I think the agencies that Max and I run, at least on Lifecycle in their current form, don't really exist in 2 years in the sense of like creative output. Like I believe that we're probably a year or two from emails just being generative and one-to-one and taking in past purchase. Like, that should all be built in. And so what people like us are going to have to get good at is, I think, upskilling the team and upskilling the brands as well, where I think a lot of the creative output will be commoditized, but I think the strategic input will be a lot more valuable. I really don't trust AI to be strategic. I trust it to like email designs and converting Figma to HTML. If once someone can convert Figma files into HTML and spit it into Klaviyo and then it feeds off the Klaviyo data, it's game over. But you're going to need to know what to do, how to like orchestrate and make the
I don't want
most
to put
out of
words
that
in your mouth,
data.
but it feels like the baseline is going to keep growing. And then like the differentiation will be the like actually understanding what's the job to be, like what are the objectives of the brand? What are the assets that the brand has that are unique? What is the voice of the brand? And then doing that signal disruption side of things. Interesting. Max, are there any tools that you're experimenting with or that you're excited by, or like any problems that you're like, oh man, soon we're going to be able to solve this in a much better way?
Right now, what takes the most time for us is creative production, copy design. We have an internal copy tool that we've been building, and it keeps getting better and better. It's been sick. It's pretty dope. But design, really, we utilize AI imagery, but we haven't, like, buttons are all weird, and email layout, if you try to have AI do like the whole email. And I've talked to like a few different softwares that are doing some super cool stuff with AI design. Not quite there yet. And so I think that'll be sweet once we have it. But really, I've messed around with Railion in terms of just like some data analysis. I'd be curious on Klaviyo and Shopify data and being able to ask, like, I don't want to go search in spreadsheets at all every time when I'm like, hey, how do my, like for the example earlier, what insights can you pull about customers who answered that they were in their third trimester of pregnancy?
You can do that in Hiro.
Yeah, and so similar sort of stuff like that is like stuff that I want to continue to see develop. So that sort of stuff. And other than that, I don't know, just with the content would be nice.
I like it. All right. All right. Let's get tactical. We got BFCM coming up, and I also kind of want to give you space to abstract a little bit. What? You guys are retention experts. I bring you a brand, $20 million revenue brand. It's like real company clarity. What are the main KPIs that they should be looking at? And what are the vanity metrics that people look at that they shouldn't be? Zac, why don't you jump right in, please?
Depends on the product, first of all, consumable or not consumable. I think you have to make a lot of top line distinctions, especially for retention. Usually, let's say we're talking about consumable, so average repurchase rate, average time between orders, and then most frequently cross-sold products or like bought together. Because I think a lot of where our focus is in retention and lifecycle is AOV growth, and then that leads to LTV growth. So we're effectively trying to make people buy more things more often, and those are the metrics that reflect that. At the core level, like open rate does not matter. All you should look at is click rate. And yeah, I mean, that's kind of like our philosophy is the KPIs should match the brand's objectives, like I said, and there'll be some unique ones, whether they're subscription or replenishable, but LTV, time between orders, AOV.
Love it. Max, anything you would add is like a must look at, or any like obvious ones that most of your customers are looking at that they just shouldn't waste their time?
I like looking at the subscriber conversion rate. So it's a predictable metric. If you can have a predictable pop-up conversion rate and then a predictable subscriber to conversion rate, like what's the conversion rate of people who buy from email, then that can help you be predictable with scaling. And so that's something that I like to look at as well. For me, it's just like offers. Like for example, you look at an email subscriber who converts 95% if somebody's placing an order when they are an email subscriber, 95% of the time it happened day one, right when they opted in. And that, like, the back end of your welcome flow is going to be very, very minimal. And that just tells you how important like the offer and the framing as somebody who comes in is. And so I like to look at just like the offer acquisition. I like to look at site traffic and then conversion rate from the offer on the pop-up form. That's really what I like to look at. And then
I know a chart in Hiro is your favorite based on that.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, that's what I was thinking, imagining it in my head.
Screen share later. It is funny you talk about this. And Zac and I have talked about this separately, but Orita's existence is all about that medium and long term. The most likely time somebody's going to buy is when they sign up. They're very interested. You get to hit them with your best messaging. You've thought through it. It's like, yeah, sure, on the first day, 5 days, 30 days, right? Like that is the time. The thing that we have seen is like so many brands let that like medium and long-term group go to die. And it's not personalization in terms of like, oh, you should get different content or something, but it's like, are you actually paying attention to when they're engaging and when they're not? So you can go bring people back. And so it is very interesting. Like I couldn't be more aligned, hammer that like upfront, and then like, there's still more LTV to be gained over time. All right. I want to do like a very quick one on BFCM. It's next week. Is there any immediate thing that you would recommend a brand, knowing nothing about the brand, where you're like, guys, don't forget to do this in the last couple of days? And then I have a follow-up about post BFCM. Zac, is there anything? Nothing? Great.
Too risky to suggest anything because it'll backfire for someone.
Max,
and I'll be
live a little.
I'll take the shot, whatever, come after me. Update your pop-up forms with your offers and update your core email flows, at least email number 1, to highlight the offer and have more urgency.
I second that. Yeah, Zac, I'll second that.
Hey, nope, too late.
Zac's out.
You're out.
That's great.
I'll,
hey man,
yeah,
look, like get your best content and then be consistent. All right. So then the flip side of it is a brand comes out of BFCM. They did well, they did mediocre, they did poorly, whatever it is. What are the things that a brand should be learning post BFCM that they can bring to make sure that next year is a great year? Is it, we go look at the data this way and then we start doing some new tests? Is it, they should be inspecting flows, campaigns? Like, what are the ways that a brand should be kind of taking this density of data to inform next year's strategy?
I think brands should be asking themselves how much they should be investing in BFCM, like philosophically. I think we've, as an industry, kind of programmed this behavior that every brand has to follow the same promo schedule, with most of it coming in the form of BFCM. Like so many brands live and die by how they perform, specifically over BFCM, not even keep more in general. I think one of the kind of thought exercises we've been working with on our brands in the past few years is everyone is running the same sales during the same weeks of the year. What times of the year can like we go and own a week? Or can we own a weekend? And can we do that a couple times a year? For example, like we love the idea of a brand just having like it's brand name week and it's take the slowest week of your good quarter and go own that week instead.
Yeah,
and
that's like anniversary sales. That's often why they do so well.
Yeah, and I think when we come out of BFCM, we're always comping year over year and the next year. But the thing that those comps never take into account is consumer sentiment year over year, right? Like every brand expects to grow year on year to some degree, especially in email. They're like, well, our list grew and, we've been making more money out of email. Like this BFCM, there's going to be a lot of brands that come and they look at their emails year over year and they're like, why didn't this perform better? Or why are we under? And it's like, if you look at the macro economic conditions, right? Like consumers are not stoked about spending money. And I think there's no crystal ball into how consumer sentiment is going to go, but you can de-risk yourself if you're putting all of your eggs in one or two sales out of the year. And it might not even need to be sales. Maybe it's like product development or launches or packaging, just things to, like we've been talking about, signal disruption, newness, and pegging that around the year, not just like this one week is make or break.
Max, sort to you on this. You come on a BFCM, good, bad, indifferent. What are the things you should be paying attention to from that to help inform your strategy kind of going into 2026?
I think everything revolves around, I think the highest lever is your offers. Like when you're talking about BFCM, like the highest lever is your offers. You could have the sexiest email, but if you had a shitty offer, then a shitty looking email with a banger offer that just like worked. It doesn't need to be the biggest discount offer. It just needs to be the best framed offer that converts the best off of your audience. And so I would just look at what offers worked well this year. What offers can you test throughout the year, which most brands should be testing offers throughout the year and different offers to see so that they can use it for BFCM. We were testing BFCM offers in July for our 4th of July sort of offers. And so that's what I'm thinking. Like, what do we think? And you kind of have to follow your gut a little bit and look at the numbers and just like, this kind of feels like it did better than it should have. And because like sending an email for Black Friday versus early access, different offers, but Black Friday is probably going to perform better. But it's like, did it perform above like expected? You kind of got to use a little bit of your intuition. Mainly, I think offers are the biggest lever. And so I would really just look at the offers and then throughout the year, test different offers, look at what other brands did. How can I steal that? Can I segment a part of my audience to maybe test that offer to a segment of my audience? Next year, do we get a little bit more segmented with our offers? Is there going to be a future of websites where websites are completely custom to the customer based on if they're a one-time buyer or multi-time buyer? And we really can customize based on that. I just look at different offers for different segments and how can we test this throughout the year so that we can really pump as much as we can for BFCM.
Fellas, this has been awesome. For each of you, one last question, and it's a two-parter. Where can folks find you? And if there's any other last like word to the wise or thing you want to get out there, piece of advice, would love to create a little space for you to say it. Max, I'm going to start with you.
Thank you. Ladies first. You can find me wellcopy.net. That's my agency's website. You can go to WellCopy Max on Instagram. That's where I'm most active. And word to the people.
I like it. It's great advice.
I don't know.
I'll speak for you, by the way, just like kind of distilling some of the other stuff, just repeating what you said earlier. Like you seem like an absolute fanatic about testing and getting in the data, and you're using Hiro, but you're also using intuition, and you're testing like the funnel all the way through and just how impactful that is. And
test the high levers. Look at the high levers. I'm big on just the high levers. What's the shit that matters? And let's hyper obsess over those. So like, yes, love testing, but make sure it's the high levers. I don't want to test stupid tiny little product blocks.
All right, Zac, last word to you. Where can folks find you, and any last words of wisdom?
Yeah, simplistic.com, hiroanalytics.com.
Hiro's Hiro.
Hiro. Thank you. Yes, Hiro.
The
last four letters of Brendan, my partner's last name, is how we got that. Word to the wise. At the end of the day, remember, we're just a bunch of monkeys selling widgets to other monkeys. It's, we chose this path, but remember at the end of the day, it's the holidays, spend time with your family, touch grass, eat good food. That's what this time of year is about. It's not about
You had
making
me
as
until you
much
said
money
touch
as you
grass,
can.
and then you lost me. I can't. I'm just like, you are just too much. Also, if you need a gift for friends and family, buy Narwhal coffee, which Zac is also a co-owner of, which is delicious. Stop by in Venice. Is that not the last plug?
Thank you. Yes,
Fellows,
I
really and truly,
appreciate
this
the
is
plug.
awesome. I took a bunch of notes. I've got follow-up questions for you each, so I will be annoying and keep pushing. But thank you both for your time.
Thank you. Had a great time. Love yapping.
Hi, I'm Aaron Schwartz, co-founder and co-CEO of Orita.ai. We build AI customer segmentation for some of Klaviyo's biggest brands like Oriana, Spanx, Caraway, Third Love, True Classic, Run Beauty, and on and on. Brands come to us to help find untapped revenue, improve their click rate, drive away mean bots, and a bunch more. You can learn more or get a free customer engagement audit at Orita.ai.